Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and on this episode, I am joined by Jenny. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Becky.
And Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hey, Becky.
Um, okay, people. This episode, bear with me, it might be a little long. So I floated an idea out back, I want to say last spring, and said, hey, would anybody be interested in knowing about the history of romance book covers? And I was thinking of doing just a special edition over on our Patreon all about covers. Like do a special episode because I got lots of knowledge.
Yes, you do.
But it came up that lots of people are intrigued by this topic and that it's not just me, because I really thought that it was just going to be me, like verbally running amok about covers. But come to find out, other people are interested in covers. And so now you get a whole episode dedicated to my knowledge.
We're here for
I
it.
love it.
And it's 3.5 pages. And that's before I even really let Heather and Jenny chat.
This is Heather, and listeners, I promise we're going to try and rein her in, just so you know.
So on this episode of Buzzing About Romance, we're going to tackle covers. Instead of a word of the week this week, I'm going to give you a brief history of covers, 3.5 pages,
Brief.
and different terms that we use when referencing covers. Okay, many of you might know I'm obsessed with the romance book covers of the 70s and 80s. Like, obsessed with them. So that started my deep dive. I needed to know all about covers, and there's so much integrated with books and status, societal status, that I did not even realize until I started digging into covers a year ago. Like, owning books is a big deal. And it really was, for a long, long time, only the elite that owned them.
Even still, like I'm going to put my teacher brain on. So even as a teacher standpoint, children that come from homes that have books are more apt to be readers.
Which is so interesting. We always had books, and I remember I had a job on Saturday mornings. When you were one of the littler kids, your job was to dust the bookshelves on Saturday mornings. You had to get the feather duster and a damp rag and dust the shelf. I mean, and we didn't have a library in our house. It was not big, but like shelves and shelves of books. So
To be a library, you need 1,000 books.
I am not at 1,000 books.
We are.
Well, wait, do I have to count the children's?
Oh, I count everyone's books.
Oh, well then I'm good.
I'm a library.
Yep.
Damn it. And in our library, we count graphic novels and comic books as reading. Thank you very much.
I, even as a teacher, would count magazines because children read them. It's the reading, period.
I used to love Highlight magazines. I loved them. I still do the hunt and finds in the doctor's office. Anyway, okay, on to my not so brief history of romance covers. Okay, so people may tell you never judge a book by its cover, but the truth is many of us choose books based on the cover alone. We've been having this discussion a lot lately as the man covers, the ab covers seem to be going by the wayside, and there seems to be a current push for illustrated and what we are calling discrete or muted covers. So basics, type of book covers, there's a hard cover, there's a soft cover. Within soft covers or paperbacks, there is a size called the trade paperback. These are usually larger, and the paper is usually of higher quality. And the binding, the glue that's used to glue those pages is of a higher quality of glue. These are also going to be acid-free paper. So it's, again, a higher grade paper. Then we have what we call mass paperbacks. The mass paperback is small. It's usually a non-illustrated, inexpensive book binding format. They're going to be very basic covers on mass paperbacks. These are also known as pocket paperbacks because they fit in the pocket of the working man to take with them. Now,
They're also, the type is really small. Like you basically
Mhm.
need a magnifying glass to
Yep.
read it.
because it's the same amount of words that's in a trade paperback.
Right.
It's just in smaller form. And it was a less expensive way within publishing for when it used to be that you would get a hard book, cover of a book, and it was usually somewhere between 14 to 18 months after the release of the hardbound cover that you would get a book
Mm.
into mass paperback. And it was really, mass paperbacks were not meant to last the ages. They were meant to be thrown away.
And that's why, like, they were in, when we, like, Becky and I were older, when we were growing up, they were at the checkout at, like,
Yep.
the grocery store.
They were at the checkout, they were at the gas station. Those are used to be what you'd find in the airport because, again, it was low expense. And if you didn't keep it with you, it wasn't that big of a loss. Which is why now, as a paperback collector, I pick up every mass paperback I can find that's still in halfway decent condition because I have some that I have read and loved hard that did not last. So then we have what we call hardcover with an image wrap. That means the image is going to be on the actual hard cover. And then there's hardcover with dust jacket. The dust jacket will hold the image. The actual hardcover will be plain and of a higher quality cloth binding or leather binding on it. The purpose of a book cover design is to draw the attention of the potential reader away from all those other tomes and novellas and sell them on the idea that your page turner is the next book they need on their nightstand. Okay, here is a brief timeline on the evolution of book covers. So the first book covers were animal skins, typically leather. Covers during this time were incredibly ornate, often featuring jewels, pearls, and gold. The emergence of machines and different kinds of manufacturing changed the book industry. People were now able to mass produce books, which meant both pages and covers were easier and faster to make. Many of the covers were made with cloth or leather, which led to an era of gold stamp covers. It's important to remember that up and until this point, owning books and having collections of books was very much part of the higher class. It was elite. The average working man, the servant, they did not have books. Typically, up and until the late 1800s and the Industrial Revolution, the only book many families owned was a Bible. And that didn't even really start until after the Reformation, because in the Catholic Church, which, ruled the world there for a long time, it was illegal for the average man to own a Bible and read the Bible. So, a little bit of my
It
CCD
makes sense.
Catholicism coming in there. Near the end of the 1800s, books began using dust jackets as an easier to produce version of the cloth cover of the past. Many people started using dust jackets as a kind of achievement for their book. Due to the rise of technology and bold graphic styles of art, book cover design completely changed at this point. So, I'm done with generalizations of covers. Now we are going into romance covers. Told ya, knowledge. Got to get it out, guys.
No problem. We're with you. Following
You
along.
are.
Romance book covers have evolved over time, reflecting changes in publishing trends, societal norms, and artistic styles. The history of romance book covers can be traced back to the late 19th century when romance novels began to emerge as a popular genre of literature. Initially, the covers of romance novels were simple and modest, with plain lettering and unadorned illustrations. These early covers focused on the title, the author's name, and often featured a subdued color palette and conventional imagery. If you go and look for a first edition Pride and Prejudice, that is exactly what it is. It is a plain cloth brown book with gold lettering, and that's it. In the 1920s and 30s, the pulp fiction era ushered in a new era of romance book covers. Publishers began using more colorful and dramatic covers featuring attractive, scantily clad ladies and rugged, handsome men embracing or action poses. These covers often featured lurid titles and suggestive taglines and were designed to enhance the reader with their vivid imagery. In the 40s and 50s, romance novels became more mainstream, and publishers began to use more subtle and sophisticated cover designs. These covers featured elegant typography, artful illustrations, and often depicted scenes of romance, passion, and love. In the 1960s and 70s, romance book covers became even more diverse, reflecting changes of societal norms and a growing acceptance of sexuality in popular culture. Covers of this era featured more explicit imagery, with some featuring full nudity, and they often depicted a wider range of romantic and sexual scenarios. This is the dawning of the bodice ripper, too, also. And then, so I want to talk a little bit about the origin of the romance novel The Clinch cover, because if you know me, I got a thing for the clinch.
You do.
I love them. I love them. And I found out that some of these artists that made these clinch covers, you can buy the original paintings. Corset and Crown just talked to a friend that they had on their show that bought a print.
That seems, yes. If that's your thing, you should do that.
I think I need it. If I could get the booby bopping one from Joanna Lindsay, you guys, you know I'd have that on my wall, right?
Yes.
You know that. Okay, so what is a clinch cover? The clinch cover is a term used to describe an embracing couple on the front of a romance novel and has often been ridiculed since they showed up in the 70s. I personally started reading romance back in the 90s, and all the books I had access to were straight out of the 70s and 80s. And simply because I love me some dramatic painted images or billowing gowns and suggestive poses, these have quickly become my all-time favorite of covers. So some of the top cover artists and designers of the golden age of the clinch, which is what I'm terming it. That is my made-up term, people.
Golden age. I love it.
John Paul Fiera, Elaine Dulo, she is who was the original person to paint Fabio, and Robert McGinnis. When the romance genre blew up in the 1980s, we saw an explosion of the kinds of covers that non-romance reader exclusively associated with the genre, and they called them the clinch covers. They usually featured bare-chested manly men holding tightly to a swooning woman with hair whipping in the wind and a dress holding onto her slim shoulders for dear life. Did you like that? The publisher would hold photo shoots with the models, and then an artist would transform the image into a painting, adding in backgrounds and probably volumes to the hairstyle and the gowns. This gave us Fabio, and who was featured on hundreds of romance covers and is still synonymous with the genre to many people outside Romancelandia. And as I was doing my deep diving, I do feel like we might need a Fabio episode.
Yeah, I mean, he even still, my dad will be like, "Oh, Fabio," and I'm like, "Why is he such a big deal?" Well, apparently he is.
He is. Between the late 90s to the mid 2000s, many mass publisher paperbacks were given object covers in an effort to hide the clinch. They hid these clinch into the step backs, which we'll cover over on the other after we get over all this. In 2000 and beyond, romance book covers have continued to evolve, reflecting a greater diversity of representation, a wider range of subgenres. Covers now often feature more diverse models, reflecting a growing recognition of the importance of inclusivity and representation in literature. Many covers now also feature more modern and minimalistic designs with bold typography and abstract imagery. Overall, the history of romance covers reflects the changing taste and expectations of readers, as well as the evolving standards of the publishing industry and the broader cultural landscape. Now, as I was doing my research, you guys, I kind of saw the waves of this. So in the 20s, the covers, I found some old covers from the 20s. Pornographic, guys. They were scandalous. And then as you hit the late 40s... So the 30s depression, you hit the 40s and 50s, they tightened up. They were much sweeter. It was definitely an illustration. And then with the sexual revolution of the 60s and the 70s and the dawning of the bodice rippers, then they just threw caution to the wind and started showing everything. And some of them, like my favorite, Tender is the Storm by Joanna Lindsay. If you can find the original, which I have, and I will feature on our On the Shelf show notes. I mean, basically, he is bare chested, his pants are under his bottom, her dress is down on her shoulders, and she is up against his thighs. And in our house, we refer to that as the booby bopping cover, because that's what my child called it. So, something else that we have seen happen in the romance genre, in the dawning of computers and graphic arts, we have seen these vector art covers. This is a type of cover that designs using vector graphics to create stylized, illustrated images rather than a photographic image. Vector graphics are digital illustrations that use mathematical equations to create shapes, lines, and colors, which makes them easily scalable without losing quality. In the context of romance novels, vector art covers often feature these stylized illustrations, creating couples in romantic or intimate poses, often with bold colors and graphic elements that are meant to catch the reader's eye. These covers can have a wide range of styles and whimsy and cartoonish to be more realistic and dramatic. We are seeing an increase in popularity in recent years due to the versatility and cost-effectiveness and the ability to create unique, eye-catching designs that stand out in a crowded marketplace. They are often used by independent authors and small publishers who are looking for an affordable, distinctive cover design for their book. Now, that information was taken from like 2017-18 about independent authors and small publishers, because we're now seeing a push from Big Pub using the cartoon covers. Okay, so I do need to explain what a step back is, because not everybody knows what a step back is. So, and this is my last piece before we get into actual like book covers.
Sounds good.
20-minute lecture, guys. The step back cover is also known as the fold out or double cover, was a common feature in paperback books during the mid-20th century. Publishers used this design for a few reasons. It attracted readers. The step back cover was often used to feature a larger, more detailed, or more versatile, striking image than what was on the front cover. This could help catch a reader's eye and entice them to pick up the book. It protected the book. Step-back covers served as an extra layer of protection for the book's pages. When the book was closed, the step-back cover would fold inwards and help to shield the pages from wear and tear. It's cost-effective. Compared to hardcover books, paperbacks were more affordable options for readers. However, they were also more prone to damage. The step-back cover was a cost-effective way for publishers to protect the book's pages without adding too much to the production cost. Step-back cover was a practical and versatile, appealing design choice for paperbacks during a time when they were becoming increasingly popular among readers. We have seen the death of the step-back. Rarely in the modern paperback do we get a step-back cover. If you are in publishing and you are listening to this episode, I want them back.
So
please bring them back.
Well, a little fun fact about me and my family. We come from a long line of printers. So my dad was a printer, and my family owned what is called a bindery. So that is more time consuming. Step backs require more manpower to do, and so they're more expensive also, because they'd have to go through a bindery first. So they'd have to be creased and then they'd have to be folded.
It doesn't make me want them less.
I'm not saying that you would. I'm just saying, like, as like a perspective of like it would need to. And then I would assume shipping also. I mean, like, I think about the way the mass producer that we get books from, they can't ship anything to save their life.
No.
They put a book in a box and then nothing in it, and they'd ruin it.
Yeah. Nope, I agree. So we are now moving over to covers of today and the different types of romance covers that we're seeing now. And we're also going to kind of nitpick a little bit about covers because I believe all three of us have big thoughts on covers right now.
Yes,
I do.
Okay. So the digital era of covers. This is where we're at. 99% of all the books I read are digital books. I am looking at books about 85% of the time. I am looking digitally for the books that I'm going to purchase.
Mhm.
I am not
Right.
in a bookstore looking at books very often, less than 10%
You're not,
of my life.
you're not touching the book before you
Not.
purchase.
Not. So, really, I need covers that stand out as I scroll the retail sites.
Well, also, like if I were to go to a store, I have to be very conscious of the bookstore that I go to because the majority of the books that they do sell aren't the authors or books I'm actually interested in buying.
Same. Same. Okay, so a little bookkeeping of cover design. Who owns a book cover? Traditionally published authors typically have the cover art for their books designed by the publishing house. So if it is an indie publisher, like I published a book, I did it myself, I would own the rights to my cover. So indie authors own the rights to their covers, but if you publish a book with a publisher, they would own the rights to your cover, which with all of these new distribution deals that we're seeing happening in Romance Landia right now, like Lucy Scores and Sarah Simone and all of them, that is why they are getting recovered on their books. Because technically Lucy owns the rights to her cover, and to sell the distribution rights, you can't usually transfer a cover copyright. So in order for Bloom to own it outright and not have to pay residuals for that piece to her, they have to create a new cover. And there also can be, in the legalese, residuals to the models and to use in printing. So, and the photographer. So a way to combat that extra expense, publishers will put their own cover on a book. AI drawn covers, which is something we're in the middle of this AI, and however you feel about AI, you feel it. As a creative, I do think that this is a bit of a quandary for many of us. Being a creative and a technology person, ooh, it's really cool, but it does feel like AI is coming for the creatives.
Mhm.
AI drawn covers cannot be copyrighted. Also, there's a problem with AI covers is it takes different styles and drawings to create the cover, and by doing this, it can often feel like an exact copy of another artist.
Mhm.
So, however you feel, but AI
Mhm.
covers cannot be copyrighted. This is the law.
I know.
Well, and there's been some hubbub and some talk because some authors have been using AI to draw like their characters. And of course, the
Mm,
AI is searching the web, and some of these are people that, this is their livelihood as illustrators, and they draw fan art, and it looks very similar to their fan art. And now you're creating this, mud.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't have the headspace for AI because I got
I,
covers to talk about. Cost of a cover. Typically, a cover costs anywhere from $500 to $800 to be designed. This does not include the rights to the picture if you are using a photograph. Those vary based on artist and who owns the copyrights of that photo. Professionally illustrated book covers will cost on average between $500 and $1,500, and no royalties on book cover work. It's a flat fee. So, but that doesn't
With
mean
that,
they're
though, they there are some cover designers who are extraordinarily sought after because, let's face it, they are stellar at their job.
they are. There are some that are better than others, and I think
I would agree.
the demand of them, because they become so in demand, I feel like the
Mm,
quality of their work has kind of
gone
gone
down a
down.
little bit.
mm,
Because I'm thinking of one, I typically have always loved this creator's covers, but
Mhm.
she's been doing some for one author that they don't make sense. Make them make sense. They don't work for me. Like the lighting in them, it feels lazy. I don't know. I don't know. So I think even if you love a cover artist, you might not love every cover they do.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about these illustrated covers, guys. Because do you love them or do you hate them?
I love some of them. Some of them I don't love. It depends on what the cover looks like and who has done it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel an attraction to the illustrated cover, but then when I was like looking through covers for this episode, I felt like most of them just looked so similar that it was kind of hard for one to stand out as like, ooh, I really love this cover. Like I like all the illustrated covers, but I don't love
If
one.
if you had asked me 18 months ago, I would have told you I'm a fool for an illustrated cover. I buy them all. I love them all.
Mhm.
But now we are so saturated with them, and some of them are so ridiculous. And I have an article going up the week after this episode airs all about the object cover and how we're just putting certain objects on books that don't actually reflect within the book. And I think we see this the most with illustrated covers. Like, it's like, mm, you know, were they really
So
sitting on a swing together? Or did they sit at a bar together? I mean,
I think that like I would agree, like probably 2 years ago is when the illustrated covers started to come out and they were new and sort of like, oh, like that's kind of cool. Like I really like that. And then now it just seems like everyone, which I think is great for some artists because some of the artists are do a really great job.
well, the one that comes to mind to me really is like the Claire Kingsley, the Bailey brother covers.
Mhm.
She took away her man covers and we got this red truck in different seasons. And I don't know that it fits those
It
books.
doesn't. It does
And it
not.
makes them look like they're sweet romances and those are highly emotional, angsty romances. It doesn't it used to be the illustrated covers sit really on the rom-coms.
Mhm.
You know, like the Bromance book club. They had illustrated covers
Yeah.
and you knew exactly, and those were lighter romances. They were not heavy in romance. And now with the illustrated covers, I mean, we're seeing illustrated covers on dark romance.
Yeah, everything.
So Cassie Cole, she writes a lot of those like quick and really steamy, like, why choose kind of romance. And she has changed all of her covers to illustrated covers. And she's like, she wrote in her newsletter, this by no means that my books are changing. They are not sweet. You're gonna get what you get. She said the problem is that Facebook and other places were censoring her from her advertisement. And so they were not allowing her covers to be out there because they had bare-chested men. So she's
That's
like, I
why
had to do something.
that's why a lot of authors are moving away from the bare-chested covers and the more sexually explicit looking covers because they are being censored in Amazon ads. They are being censored on Facebook ads and they'll be fined for 30 days and then the next 30 days when they go to renew the ad it'll say it doesn't meet our standards. And as I was going through the history, I mean, I saw the ups and downs. And if I look at the covers from 80s, early 90s to what we went into the 2000s with, we saw that swing down. And if you think about it, that was after the whole Bill Clinton hubbub and, like the president's sexual scandal. And all of a sudden publishing is like, let's push out all these object covers. And then 50 Shades of Grey was an object cover, but slowly after that, I mean, we had handcuffs on the cover, and everybody knew why there was handcuffs on the cover, or a mask, or whatever. And then, into the teens of the 2000s, we saw the dawning of the man chest cover, but it was also as Amazon was taking its height for the indie author, and you had to make a cover that stood out. And those man chests, they stand out.
I mean, who doesn't love a really nice set of abs? Like, let's be real.
So, okay. Illustrated covers, a couple examples. Aurora Rose Reynolds has a really cute one for her For Never book. Stacey Hart has moved all of hers to illustrated covers. Angela M. Lopez, The After Hours on Milagro Street, You Had Me at Ola. Those are all what we would consider illustrated covers. Megan Quinn is currently doing a mix between a real photo and an illustrated cover. But I'm not exactly sure what that type of cover is called.
It's so funny. I just looked those up because I'm like, I feel like Megan Quinn's are illustrated. And I'm like, nope, they're not. There's like,
it's a mix.
They kind of remind me of like our old YA books that we were reading when we were in like junior high and middle school, like Babysitter's Club a little bit,
Like they cut out the picture of the dude and then put him on a coloring book.
To be fair, who's reading a ton of romance right now? I mean, like, think about the age bracket.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about bare chest or ab covers. Sometimes these will show the dude's face. Sometimes they only shoot from the neck down. Right. You're going to see these often. Jay Salmon's Her Doctor's covers are all bare-chested. T.L. Swan, her Miles brothers, Marty Mann, The Dalton Family, and The Tryst, whatever you want to say, by Lauren Blakely. Those are men that are dressed, but they are sexy.
Yeah. Kendall Ryan, actually in her Hot Jack series, I would say is the same. Like, you get some really nice forearm action.
I mean, give me all the forearm porn, right? So I did ask in our Discord, and Real Fake Love by Pippa Grant was one that Christina shared that she likes, that's an ab chest covered, but his arms are kind of covering his chest, and it's great arm porn. It's like really great arm porn.
And he kind of has that look of, I don't know, like he's going through something emotionally.
I think it's the eyes in those covers. That's what the discreet covers, that's what these illustrated covers are missing, is like the eye contact. And no, I know it's a picture, people, but in my mind, he's making eye contact. He's calling to me.
Well, and that's, a lot of the illustrated covers, like, they don't even have a face.
Right. Like, it's just a round orange dot.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we do have modern clinch covers, which are couples embracing. Many people will tell you that these are covers that do well in a wide market, not in a Kindle Unlimited market. Many of the couple covers tend to be, they tend to lean more towards a slower burn, almost maybe even a sweeter romance. So, Hope Ford, her Something Real, it has Wander on it, who, if Wander's on the cover of your book, I'm buying it. I'm just telling you. Hello, Daddy. I'm buying it. Catherine Cowles, her Tattered and Torn, her Whispers of You book, they have a couple clinching. A popular one in Discord was Floored by Carla Sorensen and the Redemption Hill series by A.L. Jackson. Okay. Give us your feelings on the object muted discrete cover quandary that we're currently having, guys. Be honest. Do you love it? Do you hate it?
Some of them I like and some of them I don't.
I hate the flowers. I'm over the fucking flowers. Stop with the fucking flowers. Especially
if there were no flowers at all in the book, like ever.
Do flowers have something? Now, I will give credit to A.L. Jackson and her Redemption Hill series, all of her books, because she does the same grouping of flowers and in different colors for each book. And so it does create a cohesive look. But flowers mean nothing in that book. I'm over fucking flowers.
So Laura Pavlov's Honey Mountain series, she has special edition covers, and they are like watercolor. They are like
But that's
seriously
considered an
beautiful.
illustrated cover, not an object.
Right. Okay. Well, okay. Sorry.
No, but they're nice, but it looks like the area in which the book takes place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think
So let's use Catherine Cowell's Tattered and Torn series for an example. Okay. So the original covers have the couple with like a colored mountain scene in the back.
Yeah.
She then did special edition muted covers, which she removed the couple and did just like galaxy star explosion in a sea of mixed of colors.
Yep.
But usually it was one color on a gradient. So blue, green, purple, pink. Here's my complaint. Why is book one, because if you look at book one with the people on it, it's purple and orange. So why is not the muted cover of book one purple and orange? Why is it blue? Why didn't we make them match? Because then if something happens and I get intermixed of that series, they still would have lined up. You wouldn't, the only thing that would have been different is there weren't people on it.
That makes sense, I guess. I'm guessing there's a reason. I don't know.
Sure, it was just an artistic decision. It's just, as someone that collects books as a trophy,
right.
I went to them line up. And I don't know.
I think the book boxes do a lot of the like object covers.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because a lot of times in a book box, we get an author that only puts one book in a series with a special edition cover.
Yep.
So you get one book with an offshoot cover, and now we're seeing it with special edition signing covers. So if you're planning to go to Book Bonanza or a Polycon or even Readers on the River, the authors will have a signing edition of a book that's only going to be available at that signing. And it's one book. And sometimes it can be in the middle of a series.
So I think that it's great for someone who goes to the signing, because that's like a special, it's like if you go to Disney and you get your Mickey ears from Disney. It's different than if you just order Mickey ears on Amazon. Like, you go because it's the experience, and you'll look at that book and remember it. But what it does is it creates this sort of need to have it like mentality amongst people like us who like to collect books or whatever. And it just makes you want them, which, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, now I will say I was very surprised. So I got a set of the Jana Aston books that were like her Wrong Right series. Very cool. I didn't realize that the man chest covers, the same color matches up to the special edition Hello Lovely. So Wrong is pink background for the man chest. It is a pink cover for the Hello Lovely book. It's orange for Right for both of them. And I thought that's really cool. Like that. And it's the same color vector. Like, I liked that. That made me really happy. But then I'm like, what's happening with the, I wanted to buy a couple book boxes. Like, I love Catherine Cowell, so I was going to buy one of the book boxes, but it was one book. And if I'm going to collect her books, I'd like to collect, because she doesn't write just a standalone. She writes a series.
So another thing that kind of, this is something that annoys me, and I have said it before, but I think it bears repeating. If you are going to release a series of books, let's say 4, let's just go with 4. You need to have all 4 of those covers, like, match, or be like in the same kind of like family. So also when you release, let's say, the 4th book, and you have it listed on the Kindle as it would match the other ones. And then you just change the cover for the fourth book in the series. So then whoever buys the book, they don't match. Unacceptable. We don't do that.
Well, and stop changing multiple covers in the middle of series.
Yeah, that too.
Claire Kingsley did this to her readers, and I'm sorry, that's a disservice to your readers. She changed the covers before the series was complete. Kendall Ryan has done this. Stacey Hart keeps changing her covers. Like, non-stop changing her covers.
Okay, so when you just told us how much a cover costs to
Now, I should state Stacey Hart is a cover artist.
She does her own.
So for her, maybe it was, I had a slow day and not a lot to do, feeling a little bit of writer's block. I'm going to just play around with covers.
Okay, wow. That makes sense. I mean, and then to be fair, like there are certain series of books where they have like one, maybe their original covers, and then they recovered them and they maybe had a special edition. And like, I love the series. So like, do I have 3 books in the, yeah, I do. Does it make sense? No.
No. Well, and so we also now are seeing Patreon exclusive covers, which the one Patreon that I do that does this is Carrie Ann Ryan's. And I'm a fool for hers because she went the opposite direction. She went for super sexy, over-the-top clinches, covers that never would sell because she wouldn't be able to put ads on Facebook or Amazon.
No, they are amazing.
They're amazing. I need
the
them.
only if it were possible, and I think she told us it wasn't, if I recall, they are glossy covers.
Yeah.
So that is the other thing.
Because of the way she prints them, she can't get them matte.
Right. I am basically, if they're not matte covers, because they get like marks on, like they get fingerprints. I know that's like first world problems. I'm here. I understand that, people.
No, this is definitely a first world episode. It is totally first world episode.
I feel
Jenni,
like real guilty. Are all of our privileges showing?
Yes. Jenni, this question is kind of for you, but it's also something else. Like, so Kickstarter exclusive covers. Now, I want to say before you start talking about the one you know that I'm picking on you about.
Right.
I will say that like a lot of authors are doing collaborative Kickstarters. Like I know there's and we're going to interview the authors that were a part of it, the Blue Collar Kickstarter. They each picked one book in one of their already established books and created an exclusive cover and an exclusive book for that Kickstarter. But again, series are not going to match up, and I will find out. I'm going to ask if they're going to do like a second book box so that we all get the second book in the series. But the Kickstarter I'm referring to for you is the Penny Reed one, which she has exclusive covers. That's the only way you're going to be able to get those covers, right?
Right. And they're also annotated. So it's the only way you can get the like extra 1,000 words per book. But they do all match. And they should look beautiful on a shelf because they will have the like knitting ball. Because it's the 10th anniversary of Knitting in the City for people that don't know. And she was very we mentioned this a couple episodes ago. Like she was very smart about it. Like she realized that having hardcovers was going to be like financially like difficult for many people. So she kind of set her goal low and planned on doing paperbacks. And then once she reached 432,000 hardcovers were available, and she's doing like heirloom quality, the like ribbon paper or the ribbon bookmark. And
so that's the other thing that I'm a little obsessed with, and I do not own any. Do not come at me, Mike Burrier, if you're listening. I do not own any. The whole sprayed edges, uneven pages, special edition cover books that you get from like Fairy Loot and Bookish Box and stuff like this, like with gold foils. And I know that Katie Robert did a Kickstarter and they did a flippy flop books, like that it was one book when it faced this way. If you flipped it around, it was another book. And it had the uneven pages, and then some of them had the sprayed edges with the like foil embossing.
The
Like
sprayed edges are so pricey.
they're so pricey, but they're so pretty. And secretly, I would like to own. I would like to own some. Just so we're all clear.
Well, yeah.
But anyway.
I didn't know that this fairy loot place existed.
Oh gosh.
So
I am sorry to Mr. Minnesota Hockey Dad.
that's fine.
I'm very sorry. Please forgive me.
Mhm.
Okay. So what are your feelings when a cover does not convey the true subject of the book? I personally have had an issue where it was a clinch cover and the guy is described as clean shaven with long blonde hair or longerish blonde hair and blue eyes. And then I get the cover and the model has short hair and brown eyes and a beard.
That makes me so mad. I'm always like flipping back and forth. I mean, I read on my Kindle, so I'll flip it my phone and I'm like, what is did I miss something? Like what's going on?
It makes me crazy. Like, I'm going to be real.
Right.
It makes me crazy. Like, I think we just talked about this with Jill Ramsauer because her covers are great. And a lot of authors will tell readers. So like Eden Finley and Saxon James, I'm if they publish it, I'm buying it, right? They buy pictures of cover models all the time and they're like, oh, this is him, and then they write around that. Like I feel like if you are going to put someone on the cover, like that's who I'm picturing the whole time I'm reading this book.
Especially if they don't like describe them right away. You're
Yeah.
picturing that person and then because I've gotten like 40% into a book and then his hair is a completely different color and I'm just like,
So there was a really popular cover model. And there was like, I swear, like a month or two where he was on every single hockey romance that came out. And I was like, oh, I can't picture this guy anymore. Like the first two, I could get around it, but I just don't think he's in every city here, you know?
He's just really talented and he's all over the place.
He's gotten traded a lot.
Yeah, and there are some of our listeners that stalk cover models on Instagram. And some of our apparently hosts that stalk cover models on Instagram. I always laugh in Discord when Gretchen is like, does he have an Instagram?
And Gretchen will find him in about a nanosecond. So that was so fascinating to me for a couple of reasons. One, when we were in Vegas, at Love in Vegas, there were a couple cover models and people were insane. Like, and I'm like, yeah, he's cute, but I think I'm old enough to be his mom, for one. And then there's a couple on Instagram, someone I follow, and she's really great. Cool Moms Read. Sam, she is like loves Andrew Barnett, right? So she like literally collects all covers with Andrew. Like she has like bookshelves
a lot
full
of covers.
Of just him. I know.
Andrew's pretty prolific out there.
Yeah.
But it's like her thing. So like literally now when I see him on a cover, I immediately think of her. So like that's actually pretty smart of her.
That is pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Here are our top 5-ish all-time favorite covers. Okay. Now. What were you gonna say, Heather?
That's like we can't pick our top 5. Like I just
Why can't
that's
you pick
mean.
your
You
top?
can't make us do that.
Okay.
But okay.
Well, I'll start since apparently it was very mean. One of my all-time favorites is Tender is the Storm. It was published in 1985. It is a clinch cover. It's the original clinch cover with no sticker. it is the booby bopping cover, and that is Robert McGinnis, who was the cover artist for that book. I also am a big fan of Olivia Dade's. Her spoiler alert, that cover was designed by Yin Kim, but the illustrations are Lenny Kaufman. And so Lenny Kaufman, she does a ton of illustrated rom-coms, and they will have faces. She never leaves her characters faceless. My third pick would be Raider by Jude Devereaux. The cover is by Lisa Falkenstern. That is the Barbie. And I have this cover. I have this book in 3 different illustrations. I am only missing the UK cover and a hardback of this book. I don't know if Heather's going to come at me.
No, go ahead.
I'm a huge fan of the Pittsburgh Titans series by Sawyer Bennett. These are a Hang Lee cover, and I love them. I love them all. They're so, so great. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's 4. Yeah. Book.
They're great.
My 5th cover that I absolutely adore is Hiding in the Smoke by Ophelia. Cheese and rice. Sorry, Ophelia. Ophelia Martinez. Her designer is 100 Covers for her cover design. It's a really interesting concept. They do not name the specific designer of who you buy the book from. The way it works is you send them what you kind of want. They send you back 3 designs, and when you finally pick one, you then whittle it down to get it exactly as you like it, but you don't know. It's kind of a conglomerate group project. So those are mine.
Yeah,
Jenny?
and it works out really well for her. Like, her last book, the cover matched very, very well.
I love her covers with the red embers and the oranges. It really works. Okay. What do you got?
Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, so my first one was The Winston Brothers by Penny Reed, and I'm like, is this an illustrated cover?
It is.
I guess so. And they kind of like keep that theme through the Green Valley, like Smarty Pants, like the library series and the like
It's the
art
cross-stitching ones.
series. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
My second one was The Image of You by Melanie Moreland. I believe the person they bought the photograph from is the guy in the picture. Like, it's a photograph of himself. And then Cambria Herbert Wish. It's a newer book by her. It's a male romance. So it's black and white picture of the 2 guys. But Wish is in a like rainbow color to kind of like pride flag type thing. I just really like the contrast. I really like covers that have the couple on them. So I mean more the clench, but I didn't read clench when clench was a thing. So I was like trying to find covers that match that. Ali Martinez sometimes does that. Because usually she writes in a duet, so like the guy will be on book 1 and then the couple's on book 2.
Mm-hmm.
Another good example was Catherine Nolan, the Codex series. Like I like all those covers, but Under the Rose is book 2, and that has a couple on it. So how many am I at? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we'll go to Heather and then we'll look at the time. What do you got, Heather? Okay.
Thank you. So my first one is actually an illustrated cover, and it's actually very new. It is The New Guy by Serena Bowen. So it is just a hockey player holding a hockey stick in front of the Brooklyn Bridge because he's the Brooklyn Bruisers. It's a male romance, and the cover is purple. And literally everything on that cover is a perfect vibe for the book. Love it. I don't know who the designers are. I didn't look. I'm so sorry. I can do that.
It's okay. It's not. Listen. I told you I had knowledge in my brain. I had to get it out.
No problem. My second one is Corrupted Union by Jill Ramsauer, and Jill shared that she actually does her own covers.
Right.
But that guy on the cover of Corrupted Union is exactly how I picture Kier, and that's like the look he gives her all the time. Like it's perfect, beautiful. And then my second or my third is the Always Mine by Laura Pavlov, the alt cover. It is gorgeous. It is like illustrated watercolor scenery. It's beautiful and it's so pretty in person. And then I'm gonna grab it because it's thick. My fourth favorite is Here With Me by Samantha Young. So it takes place in Scotland, and so it's a picture of them, but it's also like the scenery, and it's beautiful, and it makes sense for the book because she's a photographer. It's super thick and it's matte cover. It's gorgeous. And then what?
Heather's like totally Vanna
She's
Whiting
like
the book.
petting the
I know,
Petting
I'm
the
like
book.
petting it. And then another one of my favorites is Codename Ghost by Sawyer Bennett. So it is a Jameson Force security.
Those are hang covers too.
And they are so cool because they are like a picture of the guy, but then they also have a picture of the city and then the dog tags. And so like I love this book so much. I bought it like 3 times.
We're not
weird.
joking. She has bought it 3
I know.
times.
Sawyer's like, Heather, you've already bought this. And I'm like, okay, well, I obviously need more on my shelf because I love it so much. And then I think that's 5, but I'm gonna throw in 6. So the CU hockey series by Eden Finley and Saxon James. So this is the series that has 3 books. I have 3 of each book. So they're original covers, they recovered them, and then they had hired someone who I follow on Patreon to draw the cover. These are the guys from the book.
So did fan art illustrated covers?
Yeah, and something happened where I don't know. And so these don't exist out there anymore, but I have them.
But she has them.
And they're pretty. And they're all matte covers.
I will say I love when a spine lines up. So like Sawyer Bennett's Pittsburgh Titan covers on my shelf. I love that. I love Carrie Elk's, her Winterville series. Like the line of the evergreen trees line the spine. And Arizona Vengeance by Sawyer Bennett line up. So pretty. And I also do love those covers because those are naked man chests and they make me happy.
Okay, I love the Arizona Vengeance because those colors are so pretty. I just love
that blue and green just pop and they look so pretty on my shelves.
Okay, I also like the Maverick series by Brenda Rothert and Kat Mazzira. They have guys on the cover, but it's not all abs. Like you get to see their arms.
So much shoulder porn. Like
I know.
So good.
And that's the other thing, like all of their characters actually match.
I agree.
Characters.
Jenny, do you have any other covers you want to talk about?
Like the other one I had was Ella Mae's Marriage for One.
The original man cover, not her new cartoon shit.
Right. Yes.
To Love Jason Thorne. When I found out she was changing the covers of To Hate Adam and To Love Jason, I went and bought the original covers. He's wearing a blazer. You get to see his naked chest. I'm like, sign me up.
As I was going through my books, so many of them were like that. Like I clicked through and then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I will say, I do like...
Thing.
Go ahead.
You think that I like have all these covers and I'm like, oh, I love them. And so then I started to go back through and I'm like, well, that's not their cover anymore. Well, poop. I should have bought them.
Yeah. I do like the Indigo Ridge cover by Devney Perry. That's done by Sarah Hansen. And of course, I have more The Love Me Forever Step Back by Joanna Lindsay. It's a John Russell clinch in the inside. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love it. And Twinifier by Jude Devereaux, the first illustration. Like she's got this red flowing hair that encompasses the whole of the cover. Anyway, it's really pretty. It gets me all the time. So yeah, I'm obsessed with covers, but I'm picky. And I am frustrated in this discrete cover movement right now. Just because I hate the term muted cover, because why should I mute what I'm reading? I like a good looking man on the fronts of my covers. I also like the artistic, and the flowing hair and the billowing gowns. I like all of that. I love the Fabio color covers. You know, I
Yeah,
think of a pirate, I think of Fabio.
I think about the mafia covers, like a lot of them that we read, they have guys on the cover and they have a lot of tattoos, which in my normal life I'm not like, but whew,
Maggie
they're
Cole
nice.
has a series called book one's called The Auction, and he's heavily tattooed. I love that cover. That cover is really great. And you know what you're getting with that cover. If you put a bunch of hummingbirds on the front of a cover, I have no fucking clue what you're trying to convey to me in that cover. And again, check out our website in our pour over section for more thoughts on covers. Because I got big ones. Well, okay, so here, I'll give you a little piece. So
Bring it.
there's a Julie Garwood book that's called Ransom. On the original cover and on the step back, it is a iron gate with fog and mist in the front of the cover, and in the back is a manor up on a hill. Okay? So that was the cover from the 90s. They recently redid the cover, and it's a medieval romance. They recently redid the cover and added a woman dressed in a medieval gown. But off to the corner is still the same gate with the manor hill up in the corner behind her. So I know it's the same book. So when I look at the original cover that I read, it had the gate. When I go and look at the new cover, if I'm going to buy it and think, oh, did Julie Garwood release a new book I didn't know about? Because, we know me, titles, they don't always work for me. I know that that's the same book because pieces connect and work.
Yes.
It's just like Catherine Cowell, her Whisper of You book. The muted cover, the alt cover, whatever you want to call it, has a compass on it. If you look at the main cover with the people on it, it has a compass on it. It has the compass rose. It makes sense. I can identify that as being the same book, as long as she keeps the coloring the same. So, anyway. Okay, if you have any questions about covers, feel free to message or ask because I still have more knowledge and thoughts. You guys, you have no idea. Like, God forbid the old lady that catches me in the corner at the library sale this year because I got more things to tell them.
Oh boy. Oh, we pray for those people.
Okay, so before we go to book of the week, I had to tell you a funny story. So I met a podcast listener in the wild this weekend.
Oh,
just like out and about.
Well, I had the opportunity. My closest Barnes & Noble, which is 40 minutes away, don't get me started, had a small indie bookstore signing, or had a small indie author signing at their bookstore this weekend. And Melanie Harlow was there, and I had the opportunity to get a book signed and meet Melanie Harlow. And as I was Melanie and I chatted, we're going to have a happy hour with her. She's coming on to the Blue Collar Kickstarter episode. So we have some things coming up with Melanie. She was like, "Oh my God, it's so great to meet you," and to put a face to the name and all that kind of good stuff. And she was a drunk book club author. And as I was walking away, I was talking to the lady that put on the signing. And then somebody else was like, "Are you buzzing about romance?" Or because I had my sweatshirt on. And she's like, "Do you listen to Buzzing About Romance?" And I'm like, I am buzzing about romance. And she's like, "Oh my God." I was like, "I'm Becky." And she's like, "Oh, I listen to you guys every week. I love your podcast." And I'm like, "Awesome. Thank you. You're welcome." I was so awkward. It's so weird, you guys.
And was Mike with you? Like, don't make it weird, Becky. Stop making it weird.
Mike and Sydney abandoned me. They like went off. They bought more in tabletop gamings than I did in books.
Oh, well.
you know, because girl child has plans. Anyway, um, yeah, I needed somebody standing beside me being like, stop making it weird. You're making it weird. It's now weird. Stop. Anyway, so if you ever see me out in the wild, please say hi. I promise not to make it too weird.
No, you're gonna make it weird, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
she's definitely gonna make it weird.
It was weird. It was weird because, yeah, do people really listen to us? Because I sit in my office and, I don't know. It's weird, right?
It is. It is a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you get a little fangirly like when you meet authors and stuff. Like I remember when I met like Riley Edwards and Catherine Cowles in person, I was like, and then I'm like, well, they're just people. Like they're people,
Yeah. Like I wasn't weird with Melanie because I've talked to her at Drunk Book Club. We've had interactions in email. I wasn't weird with Melanie. But the listener I was weird with. Anyway. Okay. So, it's that time, everyone, for Book of the Week. Okay. What do we got Book of the Week wise? Jenny, what's your Book of the Week?
Nevermore Bookstore. I'm probably gonna like screw up these names. Kerrigan Barnes and Cynthia St. Aubin. Apparently well, at least one of them normally writes historical. I really enjoyed this book. But I made the mistake of reading reviews when I was like halfway through, and a lot of people didn't like it. It's an illustrated cover, and apparently many people thought that related to like a paranormal or cozy mystery book and were disappointed. There is some like it has one of those like extended titles, a hot, kink positive, morally gray, grumpy sunshine rom-com. And I would say most of that like fits it, but it's a little angsty. They're both dealing with some tough stuff and there's a little bit of mystery to it, but at least read the tags if you're not going to read the blurb.
Right. Okay, Heather, what is your Book of the Week?
For the Fans by Nyla K. I have seen this all over on my Instagram. It's an romance. It's a college romance. A little bit of forbidden. There's some sensitive subject matter. So she has some triggers. So if you have some triggers, especially around religion and all of that, maybe isn't for you. But oh my gosh, this book, it's one of those where I went to bed and I was like, I really wish I could stay up. I got up and early and read it. And it's just that good. I didn't want to put it down.
Okay. I do not have a Book of the Week. So I'm deep into my daddy phase, the daddy era, because Heather and I are getting ready to record an episode all about daddies. And I did a lot of reading of daddies, and some of them were hits, some of them were just okay. But now I'm struggling to read anything that isn't like mafia and people stabbing each other. So I've started and stopped a lot of books lately. And I have some books that I've completed that we're going to talk about in upcoming Quick Shots of Romance. But nothing that I've been like, oh my God, I loved this book. Like, I think everyone should read this book. I really don't have one of those titles. And actually, a book I was really excited for, it's a book 3 in a series that I've been reading that I just really love. I was starting to get annoyed with it. It's kind of friends to lover-ish. And it was fucking annoying to me. And so I put it down. I didn't fully DNF it yet. I just put it down. And I think I'm going to maybe do some rereads because, like I said, I'm really struggling with where to go. I do have an audiobook, but I'm not done with it. So I want to wait till I'm done with it before I'm recommending it. So yeah, there's that. I don't really have a Book of the Week.
I have more.
You have more. And Heather has plenty for everyone. I do want to say before, because we've been having this discussion, it's happening over on TikTok again. I would like to caveat for anybody who is listening to the podcast. A couple things. One, any book we recommend to you are books that we have read. Second,
100%.
none of the books that we are recommending to you have we been paid to recommend to you or to review.
No,
we
never.
do this all just as the heart of a romance reader. And so I just felt like we needed to make that statement for everybody. Patreon update. Welcome to new Patreon member Maya. Welcome to the Hive. We're excited to have you here. We are also celebrating Holly's second year within the Hive. We are grateful for your support of the Buzzing About Romance podcast and the Bookcase and Coffee website and community. And thank you for everyone who continues to support us to bring you all the amazing podcast goodness. We currently have 4 open tiers on Patreon. Those start at $5 a month, include membership to Drunk Book Club and other exclusive content. I also want to put a little piece out there. We are starting a new newsletter project with the Bookcase and Coffee blog. It is called our Pour Over newsletter. Instead of book reviews, these are going to be curated TBRs and also entertainment pieces. Like if you like this book, you should watch this show. We're going to have a theme each month, and we'll also be talking about like other bookish lifestyle things, such as thrifting books in a small town or tips and tricks to make your reading life easier. It'll all be book centered. It might be a recipe that was inspired by a book we were reading, or an adventure that was inspired by a book we were reading. But you will want to sign up for that at bookcaseandcoffee.com. It's called the Pour Over newsletter. There's a little purplish icon on our website for you to sign up. And I'm excited for it, you guys. I have so many cool ideas and stuff. And I think Jenny is going to be a part of it. And I think maybe Heather will get some time management tips and tricks from the queen there.
If I can manage my time.
If you can manage your time. Anyway, thanks guys for joining me to talk all about covers and letting me get all of this knowledge and information out that I needed to about covers and the history of romance covers. Sometimes I have to get the words out of my head.
I learned some things.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.